think that would have been very familiar to a lot of listeners. That was The Dream of Owen from 1947, Charles Williams Concert Orchestra with Arthur Daly on the Piano Columbia record. Yes, I grew up with that record, and it's nice to rediscover it. It's one of those things that just popped up. So there we go. So welcome, folks. This is vk3sl. Welcome to the afternoon session.
VK3JR.
Hello there, Frank. How are you?
Well, thank you. How did you go?
I did. And do I sound a bit different today, I wonder? Can you tell? I'm using a different microphone, and I'm very grateful because Jim Gordon has given me a Biodynamic M260, which was sort of an industry standard. It's a ribbon mic, and used a lot in the 60s, and he very kindly gave it to me. So yeah, I'm using it now, and I think it's. Can you hear me okay? Is it sound? I mean, it's not too muffly?
Right.
No? Okay. Well, that's a good sign. I've been setting it up this afternoon. It did require the suspension had gone a bit funny, and it's still popping a little bit, but I'll keep working on it. But it's so lovely to have. It's a really special microphone. So, yeah, that's all a bit special. So that was one of the positive outcomes today, and lots of positive outcomes. It was a terrific day. Big social day, in fact. So caught up with heaps of people. Yeah, you still there, Frank? We lost you. You lost in the mix. I wonder if you're on. Yeah, there you go. You there? We might wait for the moment where you come back on. Hopefully it's not me. I don't think it is. You there? Hello. You okay?
I don't know what happened.
Something dropped.
Gremlins in the works today.
Yeah, never mind. That's all right. We've got you. So, yeah, big social day today, Frank. So caught up with lots of people. It was really good. Good to speak to the likes of Mr. Stew was there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and he'd driven down, had a really good chin wag with Mr. Stew, and Mr. Boots was there.
Good.
And caught up with Nigel and Drew, and I didn't see Mr. Newbeck. He wasn't there today.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but who else? I spent ages talking to David Ranson. In fact, for a very long time. We spent about half the fest chatting to him. I haven't caught up with him for a long time. So Mr. ECG.
Yeah, how's he going?
He's going well, yeah. He's really doing well. He's sort of semi-retired now, and just doing lots of travels, and he's still doing lecturing and teaching, but I don't think he's doing as much casework. So,
well, that must be very demanding on him.
It would be incredibly demanding, but yeah,
because it could happen anywhere in the world.
That's right. So he listens in. The problem is that he is in Warrandyte, and it's just not the best reception on either UHF or on 160 where he is. It's a bit spotty. So,
right.
But he has caught up with us on the stream before. So, greetings to you, David. If you're listening, it's great to really good to catch up. We talked music and talked about live music. He's very involved singing in choirs and such. So, so that was a good topic. Yeah. So. And I caught up with Jim, of course, and Jim, as is mentioned, passed on this marvellous mic, this Biodynamic 260.
Yes.
It's a beauty. It's a ribbon mic, so it's sort of classic old world mic. It needs a lot of gain, so I got my gain on the desk right up on full, but I think it's working all right, so that's a good sign. It did require...
Great stuff.
I've been giving it some TLC since I got back because it needed some setup. It needed, the suspensions, and it needed to be rewired, and one of the little tiny wires on the transformer inside it, and one of the tiny wires had popped off, so I had to get the microscope out. But
you're done with great care, no doubt.
Oh, it took ages. And a little spring popped out, and I had to look for it forever. And I thought, this is never going to get back together. And thank goodness it did. So yeah, anyhow, we're working now. So yeah, I'll use this as the new mic for the station for the while, I think, because I'm happy the way it seems to work, and it's a classic. So I have been using it a Shure. What is it? Shure SM58 for the last for years, and so I'll supplant it with this for the time being. Now, so the fest was really good. No junk of note there. I didn't actually buy anything at all. I was going to get some wireless mics, but they're in the 700 meg range, and that's a bit, you're not really supposed to use them in that range, and because those frequencies have been reallocated.
Yeah.
And I talked to Mr. Boots about it, and we thought that no, because my program's sustained, goes for an hour or longer, it might sort of be. It might create more problem. It might create some problems. So,
Sure.
yeah. So I was going to do that, but but otherwise nothing else. But I did have a really interesting find on the way home because I parked the car. It's in Muralbach. It's at the Muralbach Community Centre,
Yeah.
and there's a big sort of a shopping centre car park where I parked, and there was a huge op shop. Now, I'm familiar with this op shop because Henry used to play in the Muralbach Festival each year with the marching band, and we used to go along and see him perform, and I know that area well, and I remember the op shop was always good. And I think last time I was there, I picked up some rare Spotlight records. But so when on the way home, I hadn't got anything from the fest, and I popped into the op shop, and lo and behold, under the counter was a very early Kodak camera, a Kodak 1A, and from probably just after the First World War, but it was still in its original box with instructions, completely original.
Oh my God.
It had never been used. I don't think it's ever barely been unpacked. It was,
What sort of date would you put on there?
I think it's. I'm not particularly good with dates, but I'd say it's definitely from the 20s or earlier.
Oh, that's a piece of art.
Yeah, it is. Bellows camera, and it's in perfect condition. It's absolutely
What a collector's
spotless.
item to have.
It is.
Just in the op shop.
Yeah, I know. You don't usually find things like that in op shops. So I was delighted. It's got the instructions, got the original box, and it's flawless inside. All of the chrome is just like it's new. And
Do they want a lot for it?
I paid $40 for it. And I thought,
That's cheap.
yeah. I mean, these
Yeah, that doesn't sort of take into account its collector's value.
yeah, well, let's see. I mean, they are fairly common, but the thing is, you just don't see them in that sort of condition very often. So that was really special. So I'm going to, at some stage, I'll run a film through it. And
Is there any problem getting supporting stuff for it, like the film and that?
No, it should be fine, Frank. It takes 120 film, which is the type of film that I use.
Yeah.
So it's, I think it's a Kodak 1. So it's pretty early. And it's very basic. It's a very basic camera, but it's just fun and amazing to find one in such good condition. And how about that? Nothing at the fest, but I found something quite special at the at the op
You've
shop.
had a big day.
It's been good. It's been really good. Yeah. So quite a big social day.
Yeah.
So much so I was quite hammed out that I came home and had a rest this afternoon.
There's such a need for these things
Oh, look,
in
you're right.
the amateur community.
Oh, absolutely. There is. It's so important. It's really just great to see so many familiar faces. Just be there with these people, and I gather you'll catch up with quite a few of them at the old timers now. But that's but that's not an easy option for me. I can't get there because of my work schedules and things. And,
Of course
and
you
I
can't, no.
and I have to go as a guest if I did go because I'm not a qualified 25-year plus amateur. But I'm qualified but not 25 years. So yeah, that's. But look, yeah, it was good. So Judy and Jim, it was lovely to see them, and again, I'm thankful to Jim for this microphonic.
Yeah, that's great. Judy's long retired now.
Yeah. It was lovely to see them both.
She's had a most interesting career.
Yeah, it'd be good to sort of have a proper opportunity to sit down and have a chat.
Teaching a lot of foreign students at uni physics level.
Okay, wow. Oh, that's good. Interesting. Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. Now, you're quite noisy. Is there any particular reason for that? You're a bit off frequency, perhaps? Or is there any... there's a fair bit of noise behind you there, Frank. Is that...
Yeah, I'm getting noise as well. Something's not quite... QRX, as we say.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you
We
what.
used to say.
That's fine. I'll tell you what. I'll put my 20s hit on, and then if you want to restart, I'll just try it, see how you go. And because usually you're cleaner than this. It's just a bit, a bit noisy. So... if you can't fix it, doesn't matter. But I've got in my hand a 20s hit. It actually looks in very good condition. I'm interested to know how this sounds. I can't tell if it's acoustic or not, but it's a Columbia mid-1920s Speed 80 before Columbia had their own take on record speed. And it's the California Ramblers, marvellous group. They had so many good musicians went through the California Ramblers, some great improvisers. And the name of this one is called I'd Climb the Highest Mountain If I Knew to I'd Find You. Great title for a song. So we'll slap it on. Let me just quickly check in because I haven't really organised myself yet. Here we go. That should be right. Now, what else do I need to
vk3 APV.
APV, how are you?
Good. I've been a bit busy, but I have been listening to the archived programs on YouTube.
Yay. Oh, that's lovely to hear from you. Yeah.
I'm glad that the record collection exceeded your expectations.
Oh, it's marvellous. Oh, it's really good, Ian. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. We've had quite a few programs devoted to that material, and it'll keep going. And, I mean, look, a lot of it is in the public domain, but I do enjoy the experience of playing original records to air, and it's something special about the whole sort of theatrics of it. And they're lovely laminated pressings. They sound terrific, and it's really engaging. So thank you very much. Your father had great taste.
I've been very reluctant to dispose of them.
Yeah.
Contrary to suggestions by others.
Yes.
Other broadcasters on other frequencies.
Oh, yes. Yes,
but
yes.
Intuitively, I felt that they were of...
they were good.
Maybe not of monetary value, but certainly of...
intrinsic value. It's good.
Yes.
And, we'll definitely...
And hello, Frank.
Yes, I think Frank's...
Not ignoring
No, Frank's just getting sorted. Yeah, he's just restarting, I think. So it's good to hear from you. It's your first time on, Ian. So, it's lovely to get a beautiful signal here. Lovely, nice and clear. So I presume you're monitoring on UHF, is that right? Yeah. Well, it's working really well.
I have to go out soon, but I will be... listening live on YouTube.
Oh, tremendous. Oh, thank you. I'm going to bring another batch. I've got about 30 of the records sitting next to me here, and I'll swap them over. I've got an area for them, and I'll bring another lot in and continue on, particularly the late night program. It's suited to the classics.
So how rare are the particular records?
They're not, look, I have to be honest, they're not particularly rare in that sense. They're some of them...
So there's still plenty of those... And similar 78s floating around 90 years later.
Yeah, there are. There's a lot. And most of them, all the masters still exist for these, and they've been beautifully transferred, and there's outstanding transfers from the major production houses of nearly all of this material. So they're not that rare in one sense, but for me, it's all about a serendipitous approach, and when something like this happens, it sort of spawns another tangent to the journey, if you know what I mean. And
it's surprising that there's that number of a large number of 78s still floating around in the community.
Look, there's quite a few still floating around. In fact, a very large number still floating around, and but the big sort of works like these, the major symphonic works and such, they're the province of the big record companies, and they've all been released. So the recordings are all in the public domain. They're all on YouTube, and they're all been released on CD multiple times, and they're accessible, which is a good thing. I mean, for me, often I'll sort of, this is a point of departure, then I'll discover more of the artist on YouTube or find another forum to sort of flesh out the picture. So they're really invaluable in that sense, that they give me a sort of connection with a subject, and then I can go from there. So some of them I hadn't seen very often. And some of them, quite a few of them, I didn't have at all. I've never sort of cited before, but I'm aware that they're well represented in the canon. Particularly some of the Baroque music. And so your father had great tastes, actually. He said not that many people were listening to Baroque music, music of Bach's time, in that era. It was mainly sort of larger symphonic works. So there's a lot of chamber music here, or not small scale chamber music, but chamber orchestra material, and that's always good. It really suits my interests. So I find a very strong personal connection point with it. So it's great. So,
I also noticed there was a spike in ratings when you played them.
There we go. Well, it's a story, you see. It's all a part of the, there's a connection. When there's a personal connection, it makes all the difference. And having met you and having heard the story of them and seen your meticulous, you've written all them out in lists, and that's really good. So it's great stuff. So we'll definitely feature more of them for sure. So thank you very much. It's on the shelf now, with a special Ian shelf, an APV shelf. So I like to sort of keep things in their provenance in a way, because I can relate it to you and your story, and then it sort of has more. It's just more significant for me anyhow. I find it
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's more special that way, rather than just sort of absorb them. Absolute sense. So yeah, that's the way it works. And I've done that with most of the records that I've inherited from people. I sort of keep them in their areas, broadly in their genres, like classical or like music or such, or 20s hits, and so I sort of keep things in their broad genres, but where possible, I try and keep them in their historic, in the context of acquisition as well. So yeah, that's the way of things. So yeah, so thank you, thanks for coming up, and it's great that you got a really nice clear signal, lovely pathway through to here, and you didn't make it to the fest today.
No, I've been doing other things.
Been busy. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it was good. It was a nice opportunity. I did make it last week. There was another fest, of course, last week, which I couldn't get to.
There's been about half a dozen the last few weeks.
There has actually. There's been I think the Rosebud Fest happened as well, and there's been the Ballarat one, of course. Yeah, so this is the only one I could make it to, but I was really good. I caught up with...
Never seen any 78s at the fest, though.
No, you do not. You don't see them. No, and not that sort of thing. But I didn't get anything. I didn't buy anything today. I saw... I'm sort of quite proud in a way that I'm sort of moving beyond the acquisition sort of phase, and with heavy inanimate objects, and so it's quite satisfying to know to have my hands behind my back. But it was just a social day, really, just catching up with people. So yeah, that worked out really well. But you're always welcome to pop up, and I'm not sure if I'll be. It's a busy time of the year for me at the moment. I've got a lot on with concerts and various things, and I didn't get to do a Friday program last week or this week. Maybe.
Yes, I was here at 2300 last night.
Yeah. It was. I just couldn't do it last night, but because we were out and didn't get home till late. But next week, we're supposed to be going on a bushwalk next Saturday. I think we're doing a walk up in the Central Highlands. And so that's the starting. It starts on Saturday, and it may be an early start. But look, I might be able to squeeze in a short program, and I'll put one of two of the of your discs on for that as well. We ran the Carnival of the Animals the other day. You got the full set of that. It's a recording with Stokowski. That's another thing. Your father had a strong interest in Leopold Stokowski, who was a very great conductor I admire enormously, and he was the principal conductor with the NBC Orchestra. And I love his interpretation. So that's a real connection point for me. And amongst them was the Carnival of the Animals. So we did play that, and that was good fun. So yeah, there's quite a lot of other Stokowski classics there. And he went on and on and on. Stokowski was still conducting well in his 90s, and he lived until I think about 1975. So yeah, it's a story. Yeah. Anyhow,
okay, well, thanks for that. And,
no worries.
Thanks, Frank. I'll listen in.
Yeah. Well, you're always
Will there
welcome.
be a show on tonight as well? Or
look, not Saturday night.
only Friday night?
Yeah, Friday nights.
Okay.
Yeah, just the late program's usually on a Friday when I'm around. I don't do anything on Saturday nights, but usually the afternoon programs 5 to 7 Friday, Saturday, Sunday if I'm around. So that's the sort of the general flavour. But yep, we'll keep rolling along, and I've got a 20s hit on the table.
Very good.
Yeah.
Am I all right now?
Yeah, you're just overdriving a little bit now, Frank. It's just
Yeah, I know.
yeah. So just
Sorry.
just cut back on the mic gain a bit, I reckon.
We're on the verge of feeding. Could you just bear with me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
How's that?
You're still overdriving. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, it's still.
Hello.
Oh no, you're gone down low now. I think it's more mic gain rather than.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm altering.
Oh, is it? Okay, sure. There we go.
I've got a different arrangement here as far as
that's
receiving.
good.
I won't
That's
bore
good
you
now.
with going into it. I'm not using my main receiver to
Right.
receive with.
Yeah, that's a good clean
And I'm on
audio
the
now.
verge of feeding back.
Okay, sure. You've got to find that happy.
How's
medium.
that now?
That's good. Yeah, it's good. There's a little bit of noise behind you, but the mic gain's a lot better now.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's not a
Oh,
problem.
yes, I do. QRX.
Okay,
I do.
okay.
Is
That's
that
fine.
better?
Still a bit of noise?
No, well, I don't know what it is.
Doesn't matter. It's not a problem. It's
I
really
don't know
fine.
what it is. Is the signal normal?
Yeah,
Signal level.
Signal level's much better. Yeah, it's good. Really good.
Well, let me say good evening to Ian. I think it was Ian.
Yes, Mr. APV. And Ian...
I'm not sure that we've met, but anyway, contacted. Good to catch up anyway, Ian, and good to hear you on it. Do come in whenever you feel like it. And
Absolutely.
It'd be great to have...
any input's good.
You.
And, so always welcome.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah. And I tell you who I caught up with today, Mr. OP. I had a...
the other Frank.
Yeah, the other Frank, yes.
That's right.
Yes, we had a good
You never
chat.
have too many Franks here.
Yeah, he actually found a good bargain today. He found some really good some audio gear, some Behringer audio gear that suits his needs exactly, and he found a perfect synergy. He was very happy. So, he was good to see him. Yeah, and we talked about guitars and all manner of things. So, I'll put on the 20s hit. I'll just go and I'll re-announce it because I forgot what I'm playing. It's one of those records that the hole's slightly too small. It's a Columbia from about 1925. It's the California Ramblers, and it's our 20s hit for the day, a track called I'd Climb the Highest Mountain If I Knew I'd Find You. So here we go, queuing it up. This hopefully will work. Oh, wait a minute. I tell you what, I can't do it yet because I'm monitoring and I've got that switched in and I've now switched it off, and I'll start again. Here we go. On board. Had a couple of hot solos on that record, and that was the California Ramblers back in the mid-1920s on a Columbia 78. A laminated Columbia. The Columbias in Australia, they're all most of them were laminated, which means that they had a very quiet surface. And if they're in good condition, you can get a really good signal to noise.
Sounded good.
Yeah, it's pretty good for the time. Very early electric, but a couple of attempts at breaking loose. And I had a good.
vk3sl, sorry.
Yeah, all fine, no worries. Disclaimers abound. I had a great social event last night with a lot of musicians, and it was really good to catch up with people associated with my workplace. But as a new chap who's working with playing double bass, and I'd really like to interview him on the program at some stage. He used to play with men at work, and he's done all manner of things with jazz as well. Fantastic double bass player, and but very interested in the history of jazz and the sort of origins of styles, and he knows a lot of the early Louis Armstrong recordings, and we had a really good talk, really deep talk about the sort of the way that recordings have sort of galvanized and how important it's been to sort of create the fusion of styles and allow music to sort of emancipate in many ways.
Excellent.
So it was good. So we'll have Jeremy on at some stage. I'll see if I can patch him in. But it was a really good
Well,
talk.
he might come on the program.
Well, so I hope he does. He seemed very, very keen to. Yeah, but yeah.
When you refer to laminated records, are you talking about shellac?
Yes.
Or is there a distinction there?
Yeah, look, that's a good question, Ian, because a lot of the shellac records that were produced in Australia, it is about shellac, incidentally, and a lot of the shellac discs, they have like a fairly heavy gauge bisque in the middle section of the record is like a very gritty, like a gravelly sort of shellac mix. It's usually shellac and some grit or something, and that substrate is quite strong. And then they have a layer of paper, a very fine paper, and then a very, very fine layer of shellac on top of that. So it's sandwiched. There's actually there's paper, fine shellac, paper, the grit middle bisque, and then the same on the other side. So 5 layers.
In a 78.
Yeah, and especially in the records made in Australia, it wasn't always the case. Cheaper labels didn't have that same function. They just had the same medium pretty much all the way through, and they're a bit noisier. But a lot of the 78s pressed in Sydney, usually from overseas masters, but a lot of them were done in the way I've just described, and you can get outstanding quality sound. Just amazing. In fact, the collection from your father are all nearly all of them pressed in Sydney, and they just sound great. They're so quiet in here. It's incredible. So as long as you get a status profile to fit the record properly, they sound really, really good. As long as they're in good condition, if they haven't been stripped bare by steel needles that haven't been changed for months on end. But
So it's sort of like the old Bakelite.
yeah, it's a little bit like that. Yeah,
A natural,
yes, it's a natural.
long-lasting material
Yeah, it's a natural material. Shellac is from the
that
wings of
doesn't
the.
pollute the environment.
No, not at all. It's just shellac is just beetle wings and methylated spirits, some like an alcohol to sort of as a what do they call it? What's the word when you have a catalyst? So yeah, it's pretty much all it is. It's just like French polishing. You can actually polish things you can smash 78s and use them as a for polishing, and I think it was often done. Yeah, so
Got a few uses.
yeah, so
Burn pretty well.
yeah, yes, that's true. Yeah, well, it's organic.
I mean,
organic.
when I used to break them accidentally, I'd
Put them in the
I
fire.
had to chuck them in the open fire.
Okay, well, very good.
To flare up.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. So yeah, being organic, I suppose, and sort of they probably burn very well. Yeah, so I'm going to try and play another cylinder now. I've got this sort of thing. Ian may not be aware, but I'm going through an everything Edison phase. That's what I call it. And I sort of obsess over things a little bit and just find there's always a subject that consumes me. And at the moment, it is Edison cylinders, and particularly Amberols, the later ones, which are actually a celluloid product they're made from. They're quite hard. And
That was one of your new videos you posted a few days ago.
Yeah,
yes,
that's it.
I watched that.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's up there for anyone who's interested. It's on the web page for the station, vk3sl page, if anyone's interested. I just did a test. I'm using an old 1905 cylinder player. So I'm sort of thinking about that all the time and wondering about ways to optimize and using an electric pickup. And some of these amp rolls sound really, really good, like astonishingly good. And I know Mr. L's made a whole career out of transferring them to very, very high order, and he does it with very specialist equipment. But I'm just using a very agricultural approach, and for this purpose and for what I need, it seems to work pretty well. So it's been quite an enjoyable process, and I've got to put together a stylus arrangement for 2-minute wax cylinders, the very early ones, but I've got to do that with great care because they're very, very easy to damage. So that's the next stage. But the amp rolls are the later ones, and they're very robust, so you can sort of play around them with a fair bit without damaging them. But the material's always interesting, and you can actually get them really cheaply. Or just find them. I've got a couple of hundred in my folks' garage. And I'm just going to slightly bring them out and just discover them and play them on the wireless. So that's the plan. So I've got one here lined up, and it's called Hula Hula Medley. It's a one-step. Now I didn't use it. It's quite critical setting it up in relation to the tone arm. If it's not exactly right, it'll skid. Now that may happen here, and if it does, I'll just have to realign it. So forgive me, I didn't preempt this and set it up properly. So or I didn't set it up, test it first. But look, it should work. I'm just going to move the microphone forward. So I'll switch the machine on. I've got the cylinder player here. It's called Hula Hula Medley, and it's from a First World War era. And so hopefully we'll have a result. Okay, we sort of got there. I have to in future. I'll have to try them out first. The problem with that record, that cylinder, was that it was actually it was working in many respects, but it was slightly swollen, and it probably had some moisture ingress at some point, which had meant that the surface was swollen. So the vertical compliance, it was bouncing all over the place. So it was because it wasn't quite true.
Wasn't tracking. Was it?
It was, and being hill and dale, it means that it sort of throws itself out of the groove.
Yeah.
And so what I need
bobbing up and down anyway.
Yeah, what it is exactly. So you're going to need to have a stylus with a lot of compliance. So if the record's in good, I mean, it looks in good shape, but it's just hard to know if it's true or not until you actually play it. So what I will do in future is just give it a dry run first, just to check that it's tracking all right. But I'd see I could probably fine tune it in this instance by having the machine slightly higher, perhaps, so that the angle of incidence, the angle of the stylus on the cylinder, would be slightly different. That would make a difference. And if I had some maybe some washers I could stick on the head shell just to give a little bit more weight. And all those little things help. And it would only just take something small, and then that would have probably tracked really well. The quality of that was actually pretty good. It's interesting. The Ambrols the early Ambrols are just wonderful. And then what happened was they had a fire in the Edison laboratory, and this is in about 1912. No, it wasn't the laboratory, it was in the studio, I think, or the pressing plant. And then it's in the studio. So Edison stopped making them, and what he did was, by that stage, he had developed his diamond disc, so he'd sort of sold out on cylinders pretty much, although there was still a lot of people with cylinder machines, so they had to keep producing them. But so he didn't have to book the artists twice and redo things. He would make diamond disc pressings and then couple them horn to horn, very primitive, to produce the cylinder. It's just acoustic coupling. And then those cylinders from about 1914 onwards, a lot of them are really poor quality. The one I played yesterday was definitely that. I played two yesterday. One was outstanding, and the other one was a little less so, and I think it was a part of that acoustic coupling. So I've just been reading and educating about this, and learning what's good and what's not, and what serial numbers to look out for. So I'm sort of a bit of a process, but when I get to do the black waxes, which are the very early cylinders, I've got a lot more material, but I'm not going to explore that material until I'm really fine-tuned with the pickup arrangement, because I don't want to damage them. So it's work in progress, but it's interesting. I love the material. It's just great. It's all sorts of fascinating snapshots of history. I love those bands, particularly instrumental recordings. They're just marvelous. So, anyhow, there we have it. We've had a cylinder for the day. I could try one more. And see if we have more success. I'll give it another wind and see if I can just make something. See, this is perfect to look at. It's absolutely fine, but it's just slightly off round. And this is the cylinders of these Ambrol blue cylinders have a inside, the substrate inside is made out of plaster of Paris, and what happens is a bit of moisture ingress and it starts to distort, and that's when you get those sort of problems. But it's they're interesting. What else? I'll give you this one I know plays well. This is the Australian comedian Billy Williams. He was born in Melbourne in 1875 and made lots of records, and I think this one plays pretty well. So, hope so. Looks like I think we're going to be right with this. So, what I need to do is, I might just have to line things up slightly here. So I've got myself wound up. And I've got the angle right. I think the angle's going to be right. And let's try this. Billy Williams, the man in the velvet suit.
Drop a scotch, in fact, we all like a Dutch. I'm very proud to say I'm very fond of a drop of scotch myself. Now and then, only now and then. It's a blow black moon next weekend. Oh, hi, she does like a little drop of scotch. I'll tell you all about it now. Listen to me. This time. Since my old woman went to Scotland for a holiday, she's got Scotland on the brain. She's driving me insane. She used to give me eggs and bacon for my breakfast once, but I've been eating nothing else but porridge now for months. She does like a little bit of Scotch, you can. She does like a little bit of Scotch. In the middle of the night she begins to sing, jumps out of bed and does the Highland fling. She's christened me Sandy, her ways you ought to watch. It's a Brobrecht, moonlight next you ken. She does like a little drop of Scotch, oh hi. She does like a little bit of Scotch. She does like a little bit of Scotch, you ken. She does like a little bit of Scotch. In the middle of the night she begins to sing, jumps out of bed and does the Highland fling. She's christened me Sandy, her ways you ought to watch. It's a Brobrecht, moonlight next you ken. She does like a little drop of Scotch, oh hi. She does like a little drop of Scotch. So do I. So do you, Dad. Isn't that right? You bet your life it is. She wears a tam-o' shanter now when she goes walking out, and an awful craze she's got, growing thistles in the pot. In church last Sunday morning she created quite a scene. She forgot herself and started singing Jean from Aberdeen. She does like a little Scotch, you can. She does like a little bit of Scotch. In the middle of the night she begins to sing, jumps out of bed and does the Highland fling. She's christened me Sandy, her ways you ought to watch. It's a Brobrecht, moonlight next you ken. She does like a little bit of Scotch, oh hi. She does like a little bit of Scotch. She does like a little bit of Scotch, you ken. She does like a little bit of Scotch. In the middle of the night she begins to sing, jumps out of bed and does the Highland fling. She's christened me Sandy, her ways you ought to watch. It's a Brobrecht, moonlight next you ken. She does like a little bit of Scotch, oh hi. She does like a little bit of Scotch. She does like a little bit of Scotch, you ken. She does like a little bit of Scotch. In the middle of the night she begins to sing, jumps out of bed and does the Highland fling. You ought to see her running all around the room doing the Highland fling. Me running after her. Laugh, you'd kill yourself if you saw it. She does like a little bit of Scotch, you can. She does like a little bit of Scotch. In the middle of the nest. Oh dear, that's a funny word to say. In the middle of the nest. It nearly chokes me. Why don't you say, in the middle of the night she begins to sing, jumps out of bed and does the Highland fling. She's christened me Sandy. I don't know what she's christened me Sandy for. I'm not Ginger.
There we go. That was the man in the velvet suit. Melbourne-born Billy Williams. Isaac Banks, I think was his real name.
That was very clear, wasn't it?
Clear as. I mean,
Perfect.
they're amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's a marvellous sound in here. And, it's quite a story. I mean, he was... he went and I think he started his musical interest on the Kalgoorlie goldfields in the 1890s. And he went to London in 1899 and did the vaudeville circuit thing. And then Florrie Ford sort of discovered. She was also born in Melbourne. She was born in Fitzroy. Billy Williams was born in Collingwood. And they probably knew each other beforehand. And Florrie Ford helped him establish himself and start making recordings in 1906. And for the next 8 or 9 years, he just made so many records and was very famous. And came back and did a big. He came back to Australia for a tour in 1910, but he died, and I think he died of social excesses at the age of 37 in 1915. So there we go. That's the story of Billy Williams. But it's infectious. He's got a good, rollicking style, and it's very much of that musical tradition, which is I find it fascinating. I'm always intrigued by his patter at the end. There's always sort of a bit of a
yes, it's very over type, isn't it? It's really good. It's got a certain appeal, hasn't it?
Yes, I find it does. When I was a teenager, I obsessed over Billy Williams, and probably to an unhealthy point, because I just thought that this is an Australian story of really of great significance, and he was also very involved in sort of other areas. Like he was a part of that. There was a group of socialists in Melbourne in the 1890s or early days who were wanting to form a utopian society in Uruguay. And
really?
And he was a part of that. And a lot of his early songs were quite sort of very grounded in that social tradition. He became a lot more conservative as he sort of moved into his fame and fortune, but he's always had an ear. And there's a lot of sort of the patter on some of his 78s. I'll see if I can dig some of them out. Show a lot of a connection with the poorer people, and often sort of mentioning the colonies, mentioning Melbourne quite a few times, and I find it quite infectious and quite interesting. So I've got a lot of his 78s. I just haven't played them on the radio much because they sort of a little goes a long way really. But I'll play one more. One more of his on a cylinder because I've got them right here.
I've just got to go and order the tea.
Yes, you do that. No worries at all. I'll play this then for the listener. And what do we have? Billy Williams, I Must Go Home Tonight. This was a big hit for him in 1912. So we'll play this. And I'll wind the cylinder player up. I'm using a Edison Standard Model B from 1905. I'm just giving it a wind up. It's got a special aftermarket accessory so it can play 4-minute cylinders. So Edison had this little gear changey thing that you put onto the end of the unit and enables it to the carriage to work with the finer grooves. But that's not necessary for our purposes today. All right, here we go. I'll do a needle drop and we'll hear another recording from the Australian-born Billy Williams.
Poor old Robinson Crusoe, silly old man to do so. I think he was a silly man too. Jones was a fellow who went the pace with all his youthful might. He took a great delight in staying out all the night. When the people were going to bed around the west he'd roam. He'd go to pubs, he'd go to clubs, but never would go home. One night inside the club he gave his pals a fright when he said, I'm going home, and wished them all good night. They thought that he was joking, and they all laughed out aloud. But Jones was very serious as he shouted to the crowd, well, I must go home tonight. I must go home tonight. I don't care if it's snowing, blowing, I'm going. I only got married this morning and it fills me with delight. I'll stay out as long as you like next week, but I must go home tonight. Poor old Robinson Crusoe, naughty old man to do so. I'd have never left home. Why, off to the station he made a dash to see about his train, to take him home again, but he asked all in vain. They said there's none running at all tonight to where you want to go. The traffic is suspended for the line's blocked up with snow. He walked up and down the platform, anything but gay. Said Jones, I would tramp it if I only knew the way. The porter said, you'll have to wait till morning, I'm afraid. But Jones said, that's impossible, I cannot be delayed. For I must go home tonight, I must go home tonight. I don't care if it's snowing, blowing, I'm going. I only got married this morning and it fills me with delight. I'll stay out as long as you like next week, but I must go home tonight. Poor old Robinson Crusoe, silly old man to do so. I bet he was a fool too. Why, out of the station he made a rush, and in the street did land. He yelled and waved his hand for a taxi off the stand. Gave his address to the driver and in confidence agreed to give him half a sovereign if he put on extra speed. Smash went the taxi, but the speed was much too high. Said Jones, I don't live up here, as he shot into the sky. He fell on the pavement, and a policeman cried below, We'll take him to the hospital, but Jonesy whispered no. Oh, I must go home tonight. I must go home tonight. I don't care if it's snowing, blowing, I'm going. I only got married this morning and it fills me with delight. I'll stay out as long as you like next week, but I must go home tonight. And I must go home. Come on now then, all together, me lads and lassies. Sing the chorus, and don't forget to sound your H's. Don't say home, say home. You understand me? Home. That's right, good. That's fine. But I must go home tonight. Good night and God bless. I'm going home now.
There we have it, the Australian-born Billy Williams, the man in the velvet suit there, and an Amberol 78, not 78, an Amberol cylinder running at 160 revs a minute. They spin fast, these cylinders. Yeah, and that's a big hit in 1912.
They're very good in terms of constancy of speed, aren't they?
They are, and there's very little distortion. If you get a clean recording and if they're played back with top equipment, they sound absolutely fantastic. They sound extraordinary. With 78s, always got a problem of inner groove distortion and pinched effects and things like that. Cylinders are clean as a whistle if they're, and some of Mr. L's transfers are just beyond imagination. They're so good. So yes, and he's got a very dedicated setup, especially for recording cylinders. That was one of his major enterprises for a very long time. But I always enjoy playing them, and I just want to play a lot more because I got them here, and you might as well play the things. Yeah. So I'll play just one more today, and this one is Harry Lauder. Now, the first Billy Williams track was a Scottish one, and Scottish music was all the go. And Harry Lauder was bigger than Texas. He was
huge, Harry.
Yeah, he was. That's exactly. We're going to hear Wee Doch and Doris.
That's right.
And
today he's singing another song called I Belong to Glasgow.
Yes, that's
dear old Glasgow town.
Indeed.
But there's something the matter with Glasgow because it's going round and round.
And round and round. I love it, Frank. You know, you're in the canoe. It's marvellous. Oh, this is all good. Well, look, I'll play there's lots of Harry Lauder cylinders here, and I will sort of drip feed them. But I'm just, this seems to be working quite well now. So I haven't tested this one, actually. I have listened to the Billy Williams. I'm just winding this thing up as I speak. Here we go. Got to get the winding right. We switch it on and we just reach over and here we go. Fingers crossed.
Well, how are you getting along, boys, eh? Of course, wait till I tell you this. It's the general rule sometimes where there are one or two or three or four or more Scots gathered together. Before we part, we have a wee joke and Doris. There's a good old Scottish custom that has stood the test of time. It's a custom that's been carried out in every land and clime, where brother Scots forgether. It's aye the usual thing. Just before we say good night, we fill our cups and sing. Just a wee joke and Doris, just a wee drop, that's all. Just a wee joke and Doris, before we gang awa. There's a wee wifey waiting in a wee button bin. If you can say it's a brobrecht moonlicht nicht, well you're all recht, you can. Just a wee joke and Doris, just a wee drop, that's all. Just a wee joke
and Doris, before we gang awa. There's a wee wifey waiting in a wee button bin. If you can say it's a brobrecht moonlicht nicht, well you're all recht, you can. I like a man that is a man that's straight and fair, a sort of man that will and can in all things do his share. I like a man, a jolly man, the sort of man, you know, the chap that slaps your back and says, man, jock, before we go. Just a wee jock and Doris, just a wee drop, that's all. Just a wee jock and Doris, before we gang awa. There's a wee wifey waiting in a wee button bin. If you can say it's a brobrecht moonlicht nicht, well you're all recht, you can. Just a wee jock and Doris, just a wee drop at all. Just a wee jock and Doris, before we gang awa. There's a wee wifey waiting in a wee button bin. If you can say it's a brobrecht moonlicht nicht, well you're all recht, you can. I'll invite you some other night with your sweethearts and your wives, and I'll guarantee we'll have the grandest time in all our lives. We'll have the bagpipes curling, we'll make the rafters ring, and just for the sake of
I'm sorry, good people, so we didn't quite get to the end. It was working so well then that sometimes there's a glitch. It might be just an angle of incidence. I've got to get exactly the right height with the tone up. If it's, I think it's slightly too low at the moment, and so the machine's got to be learning as I go, and I'm testing the concept. Yeah, we almost got to the end. We got within the last bit. Yeah, you get a 4 minutes out of one of these Ambros. You get
long, I thought it was
you get a few
minutes.
Yeah, it's a that's one of the things Edison sort of really championed was these diamond discs will go for 5 minutes or thereabouts, and the cylinders went for 4 minutes. So he was trying to sort of broaden the extend the length of a standard play. So that's a part of his vision. But yeah, it's we almost got there. It's as I said, I'm testing this whole idea, and I really would like to make it work. And we're sort of 85% of the way there, I think. So yes, I was just while listening to that, I was just looking through the Ian's Mr. APV. Well, I don't know if you're still there, Ian, but
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, and I was just looking through your batch there, and I did play this the other week, but I'd like to. I'll feature it again because I don't think Frank was around for this program when we played the Carnival of the Animals with the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra with Leopold Stokowski. This is one.
Oh, yeah.
It's wonderful. I'll play just a bit. I'll play the first, the side one. I think it's about 6 sides. But we'll hear the introduction and Royal March of the Lion and Hens and Cocks and Mules, I think it is. So we've got the 2 pianists. So I'll. This is a nice, really nice pressing. Actually, it'll come across really well. So we'll just get the turntable in sync. I'm using the SP10 for this one. And here we go. So Ian, this is one of your dad's records. Okay, there we go. There was the part one from probably the first recording of the Carnival of the Animals. I think the recording was made in the mid-1930s. They kept reissuing these things, of course, every year. They kept them in the catalogue for quite a long time after they were recorded, especially if they were a good seller. But I notice in this instance, it's interesting, your dad's one issue, this might have been just the store who did this, but the part I just played is actually quite an early disc. It's from it's an earlier issue, and the later ones are, the rest of the set is from about 5 or 6 years later. So, yeah, I think it's just because the store probably had a bit of a mixed batch,
Right.
And but it's all from the same performance, but they're just pressed in different times. But yeah, it's a great performance. Love it. I'll play another one from since you're on with us today, there, Ian.
That was a terrific. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, it's marvellous. It's just wonderful. I love it.
I think he never had it wanted it played until he died. Apart from the Swan.
He hated it. Yeah, he didn't even like the Swan. Yeah, he was really just livid about it because he wrote so much good music, and everyone just defines him by the Carnival of the Animals. It's like Ravel and Bolero, I think. Bolero.
Yeah, same with Bolero, exactly.
Yeah, he just he found
He wished he'd never written it.
Exactly. He sort of did it as a joke anyhow, and I think that's a little bit unfortunate. Never the mind. Here we go. Here's a recording with Dorati and the London Phil. This was made in the 40s. And, this is wonderful. This is the Swan Lake. We'll play a bit from Swan Lake. We'll play the waltz first.
Oh,
and
Swan is lovely, actually.
Oh, it is. It's
Showpiece for the cello.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, we'll play it is, but I've now got this is the Swan Lake ballet music.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know it is. The Swan is gorgeous, and I know it well. It's in my fingers.
Swan Lake ballet.
It's in my fingers. But
How are you going to play?
For the moment, because I've got it in my hand, and I've got the Swan Lake ballet music here. This is a recording with the London Phil with Dorati. It's on a Columbia, and it's again from Ian's dad's collection. And we'll have a listen to the waltz. I think the waltz. Then we've got the Dance of the Prince. We'll hear the waltz. So I'll put this on. It should sound good because they are in lovely condition. They've been looked after. have it. And that was the music of a Tchaikovsky in full flight. And historic recording of the Swan Lake Ballet, the waltz from, Opus 20.
Tchaikovsky had a rather sad life, didn't he?
He did. He was a tormented soul. It was absolutely shocking, and he had cholera as well, and he had all sorts of personal issues that sort of plagued him in a time where was less than permissive society. So it was really,
there was no marriage equality back then.
No, there was nothing of the kind, and he wasn't able to express his true feelings. And there's
He died fairly young too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he was in his 50s, early 50s. Yeah, there's actually a recording of him speaking.
Okay.
Which has turned up fairly.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's got quite a high voice. It's one of the. There's some cylinders discovered in Berlin, I think, about 10 years ago, and some of it is a meeting of I think it's Arensky and Tchaikovsky and a few others, and they're just talking, and apparently Tchaikovsky's voice has been identified, and he's got quite a high voice, but. Yeah, anyhow.
Very talented.
Oh, marvelous! He's just such a tunesmith and beautiful orchestrator, and just he also had a really hard time with the critics who didn't like a lot of his music. So it was a bit of a tough gig at times for him on so many fronts.
I suppose they'd be excited about tonight's festival in Sydney then.
Yes,
He would be. He would.
Yes,
he would.
He would.
He'd be there.
He'd be there. He'd be there in full force, and poor fellow, hard time.
He'd have fared much better if he were alive today.
Oh, look, absolutely. Absolutely. But maybe not in America. But anyhow, Valse Triste with Sibelius. Oh, this is marvellous.
Oh, yeah.
This
Certainly.
is a beautiful piece. I'm mining your dad's archives again there, Ian. We've got them. I'll put out another batch.
Maybe due for another dedicated show.
Oh, yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, we will.
First one you did on the Friday night was exceptionally good.
Oh, thank you. We'll definitely play a lot more. Yeah, there's quite a few concertos, and he's got this. I think he's got Rubinstein playing the Emperor, and all manner of. Yeah, there's a number of other concerto recordings I'd love to profile, and we'll definitely have a dedicated program. I really enjoy the sort of, having a theme, and.
Well, do let us know.
Yes, I will. Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, it'll be. I think the next one we'll do, if we can, is I've sort of got this under my skin, and that is I've read a really interesting blog about the lost music of J.S. Bach.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting, and it sort of references the current scholarship on the issue, and it's thought that a third of Bach's music's been lost. And a fair bit probably has been lost, but it's probably not a third because they're discovering now that looking at court documents and various things that it looks quite likely that he used his own material and cyclically regurgitated it. And what survives is the significant bulk of what he wrote, and there are things that are lost, but not as much as we thought. That's the general consensus. But there are a lot of his chamber music orchestral music, non-choral music. Is unfortunately gone, and but there are some examples where he's used concerto movements in his cantatas and such. So I'd like to really develop that. And there's also quite a lot of unfinished works that have come to light and have been finished by other people, and that would be really interesting to look at as well. There's one fugue that's just about Prelude, which is so beautiful. It's tantalizingly beautiful, and he only wrote 11 bars.
Oh, no.
And it's been finished by a few people, but it's amazing. I'd love to play it. So,
of course, the Art of Fugue itself, which is his last work, is unfinished.
Yes, the last, and that's been established that the last page from the printing press was lost. And
was it?
Yeah, so there was a last page, and it's gone. Yeah, it's like the novel without the last Last
A
year.
very funny comedy record about that. I'm trying to remember.
It's a Tony Hancock, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Hancock. That's
Yes,
right.
Hancock's half hour, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
When he does his novel, it's at the last page. It's great. Classic Hancock. Well, yeah, this is poor old JS. One of his greatest works, The Art of Fugue. The final Compunctus is missing a page. And everyone's tried to fill the gap. It's only one page, but yeah, significant nonetheless. Yeah, all sorts of interesting things here. Oh, I'll play a couple more before we wind. Here we go. This is The False Trees by Sibelius. Gorgeous work.
I might disappear in the middle of something because my meal is imminent.
Oh, no worries. Well, just in case, we'll just clarify that you should be back again tomorrow. I've got no plans tomorrow. I just need a very grounded day tomorrow, so we'll
Same as far as I know.
yeah, so should be fine for an afternoon show. And next weekend's a little in doubt because at least on Saturday, because I'm doing a bushwalk.
Oh yeah.
So, and maybe should be Friday afternoon, should be fine, but Friday evening, I hope to do something, even if we just touch on that bark subject.
Next weekend's a public holiday, long weekend.
That's
too.
right, exactly.
So a lot of listeners will be going away.
Yes, they will be, Ian. That's so
They
true.
will.
Yeah, they probably will. But I'll be out for probably Saturday night, and we're planning to do a bushwalk for Saturday, Sunday, I think, in the Central Highlands near Newgie somewhere. And that's on the cards. But, and then, so the week after that, I think, Ian, I'll probably have another dedicated program to your dad's material.
It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, but I'll let you know. I'll drop you a line. So, yeah, we'll do that. But we're playing a few now.
Do join us more often, Ian, if you all feel like it.
Just hang in. It's just a hangout space. Don't have to speak if you don't want to, but, you're always welcome to join the conversation at any time. And, it's that's something we all enjoy and happy to share with anyone who's interested. So anyhow, we'll continue. Another record from your father's batch. It's False Trees, Sibelius, and a recording with Sir Hamilton Harty conducting the London Philharmonic Orchestra. So Frank, if we miss you, we'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Indeed, Steve.
And we'll follow on with this, and then there's one more.
Won't sign because I might still be here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, there we go. That was excuse me, I'm eating as I speak. That was the London, one of the London orchestras. I can clarify the contents. Yes, Hamilton Harty conducting the London Philharmonic Orchestra. Yeah, I always associate Harty with the Halle Orchestra, but he's with the London Phil in this instance with Sibelius' Valstress. Beautiful work, I love it.
It's haunting, isn't it?
It is haunting, it's gorgeous. It's just got that wonderful, beautifully orchestrated. It's the sort of work you can play it in any combination. It always still has that charm, and I've heard it as played as in a smaller ensemble context, and it always works. Another thing. This is what I wouldn't mind featuring this on the next time we play some of Ian's dad's records on Devoted program. I'll play this whole work, but I'll just give a sample of it now. It's a piece called I think it's all there is of it. I think it's a filler. Okay, I'll play it now then. This is good. It's a work called The Gods Go A-Begging, and it's sort of like a parody oratorio of Handel's music, orchestrated by Sir Thomas Beecham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Beecham did this. He did a few of them. He sort of created his own sort of operettas and used Handel arias. He loved Handel. He just adored Handel.
Totally. There's speaking on my on my Beecham Messiah.
Oh, yes.
That he does about a 20-minute talk on it.
Oh, does he really? Well, this is interesting. Well,
and a lot on Handel.
Okay, sure. Wow.
I must lend it to you.
Oh, look, you please do. Well, I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to play it. It would be really interesting to hear Beecham's own words about Handel. I know that he just found Handel's music, and I can understand why. Handel was such a tunesmith.
Absolutely.
He just wrote beautiful, beautiful tunes, always. And had such a thing about melody. And so he wrote these sort of quasi-oratorios. They're sort of, I think they're more in jest, and in the wake of Thomas Beecham's personality. And it's this one's called The Gods Go A-Begging. And we touched on the subject a while ago, and I think I've got an LP with a couple of them, so we can sort of flesh this topic out. But I just noticed this is a filler disc, and I'd like to play it's the filler disc for the Paris Symphony of Mozart. So it's interesting that Beecham, what they used to do was if a symphony or a major work only went for an odd number of sides, they usually chose something to fill up the lasting side. So this is a case in point. The Gods Go A-Begging is there's two movements of it as a filler. So we're listening to the music of Handel, arranged by Beecham, and The Gods Go A-Begging. So enjoy the tunes. And enjoy Beecham's wonderful sense of humour, which is omnipresent. How about that? That's Handel on steroids. The music of it's more Beecham than Handel there, but I don't mind. And yeah, what a marvelous example. The gods go a begging, and I've got some extra clarification about this. It says Beecham enjoyed composing witty pastiches and transcribing the old masters. In particular, the Beecham Handel suites. After excerpts from operas and instrumental music remain very famous. In 1928, Sergei Diaghilev, who was the sort of director of the Ballet Russe, commissioned Beecham to produce music for his ravishing ballet, The Gods Go A-Begging, so it's a ballet, after Handel, and whose choreography, designed by Balashin, was inspired by 18th century pastorals. I've been talking quite a bit about 18th century dance today with Mr. ECG. Very interesting. Another topic. Looks like Frank might have gone, but that's all fine. We'll catch up with Frank in due course. We'll play this again, actually, because I think it deserves to be fleshed out further. So I will wind up, I think, at this point. I think we'll just tie the ribbons and we'll be back again next week. And to finish the program, I'll play another of your Dad's records, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll play this the conclusion of the concerto in B minor for viola and orchestra. This is interesting. This is one I hadn't seen before, but I know it's around. But I'm thrilled to have it here because this is probably the rarest of the batch, and it's William Primrose was a Scottish viola player who really hit the big time. He was sort of the exemplar of the viola in his generation in the 1920s through to the 50s. He taught after that. He lived on until the 80s, I think, as an old person. But he was a fabulous viola player. And this is an example of a work written for viola. It's actually written by a French composer called Henri Casadessus, and he wrote it after Handel, and it was quite commonplace to write music in the style of a composer and palm it off as being the music of the composer. And so Casadessus wrote this concerto and said it was Handel, but it's nothing like Handel. It's actually Casadessus.
I think you mentioned this the other day as well.
Yeah. So I played the other day the first movement of this, and here we have the third movement. I'll just play the conclusion to the third movement as our wind-up for today. It's marvellous. And it's sort of, pseudo Handel, but it's beautiful. It's great music, and it's music it shows reverence and connection with an earlier tradition and all of that. So I think it's really relevant from that point of view. So yeah, it's special, this record, because you don't often hear viola. And the viola is a gorgeous instrument. You don't often hear it as a solo feature. So here we go. Concerto in B minor for viola and orchestra. We hear the presto, the last part of the presto movement, just the last side as our wind-up. And thank you, Ian. Thank you, Mr. APV, for your presence and your support of our ventures. And we look forward to, speaking more with you and continuing exploring your dad's record collection. So that should be good. All right, so we'll say our cheers for now. I'm vk3sl, and just a quick hello to Mr. Fleming, who was in touch earlier, I noticed, and he said some positive things about this microphone I'm using, and I'm pleased to have this Bayer Dynamic mic, this M260, courtesy of Jim Gordon. So very kind of Jim to pass it on. It works really well, and I'll keep it as the main mic. Yeah, so classic ribbon mic from the 1960s, but it seems to do the job. John, I've just sent you picture of that camera I bought as well, so you might be able to make sense of that. But it holds some prospect. It's just it's basic camera, but it'll be fun to use. All right, so here we go. The music of Handel, a la Casa de Sus, and William Primrose and the orchestra. I'm vk3sl. Thank you for listening. Catch you next time.
Mm-hmm.